Hi everyone, my name is Kevin, and today I want to talk about a topic that is near and dear to my heart. That is how to invest. And the first thing you might be wondering is, hey, you're just some guy on YouTube. Why should I listen to anything you say? Well, you're right. I'm not an investment professional. I don't work on Wall Street. In fact, I'm about as far away as Wall Street as you can get. I work as a program manager at Microsoft, and that's me there on the photo there. So why listen to me? Well, over the past 15 or 16 years, I've been investing and I've been able to get a 43% annualized return. So basically increasing my net worth by 43% every single year by following this investment strategy that I'm going to talk to you about. This is perhaps one of the most valuable YouTube videos you will watch. Now, last year, by following this investment strategy, I was able to basically have my investments earn more than my salary. And I work at Microsoft, I make a pretty good salary, but I've gotten to the point now where my investments earned substantially more than what I earn at work. And today I want to tell you how I did that and how you can do that too. So you might be wondering, well, hey, if you've gotten such good returns over all this amount of time, why would I want to share my strategy? Why would I want to share my technique of how I was able to grow my net worth so much year after year after year? Well, the thing is, when I first started working, I really wish that someone had come to me and they shared this strategy with me. Instead, I had to read books, I had to talk to people, I had to do research, I had to experiment, and eventually I landed on this as being the most effective investing strategy. And I want to share that with you today because I believe that everyone works hard, everyone works so tremendously hard, and your money should work just as hard for you. And so I'm on a mission to help people learn the strategy that I've been able to implement for the past 15, 16 years. So one of the first questions you might be wondering is, well, hey, why should I even invest? You know, I make money, I keep money in my bank account. Why should I even invest anything? Well, when you think about it, if you don't invest, so let's say you just leave your money in cash, let's say you put your money in your bank account and you have your money there, isn't it good enough if I just leave it there? Well, if you think about it, it's like a dripping faucet. If you don't invest, the value of your money drips away slowly. Every single year, you lose some of your purchasing power. And sure, it's true. If you take $100 and you put $100 into your couch, a year from now, that $100 will still be there. But what you can buy with that $100 will no longer be the same. You won't be able to buy as much. And I think a good story is when I was a kid, I used to be able to go to the AMC movie theater and I could buy a matinee movie ticket for only $3. And now I'm not that old, but about 15 to 20 years later, that same matinee ticket now, I can't get a ticket for less than $10 because prices go up over time. That's called inflation. And by leaving your money in cash or by leaving your money in your savings account or a checking account, that is a guaranteed way to lose money. And so over the long term, when we look at what inflation is, inflation goes up by about 3% every year. So that $100 that you put in your couch, well, next year, you've lost about 3% of your value. So now, in today's dollars, you can really only buy about $97 worth of stuff. That's the cost of inflation, and we want to avoid that. And the only way to protect against inflation is to invest your money. So what you could do with investing is investing not only protects your money, so next year, that $100, you're still able to use that $100, but it also grows the money that you have. So now you could actually purchase more and you have more purchasing power with your money and with your wealth. Now, one of the questions you might be wondering, so sure, you don't want to leave your money in cash, you don't want to leave your money in the bank account, it makes sense to invest your money, but where do I invest my money? There are so many options out there. There are mutual funds, there are stocks, there are bonds, there are all these different places I could take my money and I could invest it, so what do I do? Well, I want to start out by just talking about how the market has performed over the long run. Here's a picture, and this is one of my favorite charts, and the reason why is this shows the stock market performance over the past 115 or so years. So this is going all the way back to 1900. And In 1900, you could see that it was at a pretty low point there on the bottom left-hand side, and then in today, we've gone up dramatically. And so over the long run, the market has returned a tremendous amount of wealth. In fact, it works out that if you had invested in 1900 to today, you would have earned about 10% every year on average. That means if you were to invest $1,000, after 1 year you'd be at $1,100. The following year you'd have another $110 on top of that, and so you would keep growing and growing your wealth again and again and again. One of the things you might be wondering, well, when you look at this chart here, you also see that there are big dips. And when you invest in the market, there are times when the market goes down, there are times when the market goes up. And so overall, we see that the market goes down. But yes, there are some points in time when the market goes down tremendously. And this one specific example, this is 1929 when we had the Great Depression, and the market fell dramatically after that. And yes, there are moments when the market goes down. But the thing to keep in mind is even if you put in all your money in the stock market right in 1929, right before the Great Depression, 20 years later, you would be at the same point you were at. And then if you left it in for another 30, 40 years, you would be up way beyond where you were when you first invested. And that's assuming that you put your money in at the worst possible time for the market. And chances are you wouldn't have put all your money in right there, you would have invested over time, and so sure, the market would have gone down, but eventually it recovers and it increases. So the key message is, over the long run, the market has performed extremely, extremely well, and you get about 10% per year. So you might be wondering, well, okay, the overall market has done well. There's so many different investment options. Where do I put my money? And so it's my belief that if the overall market has done well, why not just make a bet that the overall market will continue doing well? And if the overall market returns about 10% a year, why don't you also get your 10% a year return? And now it's very true that you could put money in an individual stock, you could pick stocks, and maybe that'll do extremely well, but it could also perform extremely poorly. By just going with the overall market, you'll do the average of how the market performs, which is about 10% a year. Most active investment managers can't even beat just the overall market, so you might as well go with the overall market, and that's what I personally do. And now these are a few funds that I've personally invested in before. One of them is IVV, you have FUSVX, and then you have VFINX, and these are different S&P 500 index funds, and all they do is they track the performance of the market. One of the benefits of tracking the performance of the market is that the fees for doing that are very low. You're going to pay 0.1% and lower. For any other mutual funds or other funds out there where they have managers, all those managers have to get paid, and the fees are much, much higher. If you just invest in how the market performs, you will do well and you won't have to pay much money for doing it. And now by investing in the stock market, you're not just investing in this arbitrary thing. You're not just getting this ticker symbol and you track the performance. What you're doing is you're buying a small piece of a company. You are essentially becoming a business owner. When that company makes money, you make money. By investing in an S&P 500 index fund, you own pieces of Google, you own pieces of Facebook, of Amazon, of General Electric. The list goes on and on of the companies that you own. You own a small slice, but when they make money, you make money. Okay, so it makes sense that you should invest in the market's done well, why don't I put my money in an index fund? Well, then the next question is, well, when should I invest in the market? What is the best time? I know the market goes up, the market goes down, but what is the best time to put money into the market? And so I want to pull up my favorite chart again, because over time we see that it goes up. And so on average, the prices go up over time, if you look at the average. And so then the thing is, it's near impossible to time the market, knowing whether it's going to go up or whether it's going to go down. And so the one thing that you do know is what the average is over the long run, and the average is up. And so what that means is, if you put money in today, you on average will get a cheaper price than if you put money in tomorrow. And it'll be cheaper than if you put money in the following day, in the following month, in the following year. And so you're always better off putting your money in sooner rather than later, because today prices are cheaper than they'll be tomorrow. And so when should you put your money in? As soon as you can. If you could put money in now is the best time, because on average, tomorrow will be more expensive. And investing in the market, being able to take advantage of the overall market performance, putting in your money right away, it is so simple, even a monkey could do it. It's a very effective but yet simple strategy, and this is the strategy that I've been following myself. I like to keep it simple. One of the questions that might be going through your mind is, okay, this sounds great, I invest in the overall market, I do as well as the market does, sounds great, I know what funds to put it in, I know when to invest, but how do I get started? And so I personally use Fidelity as the place where I make my investments and where I put my money in. Another excellent option is Vanguard. They're the ones who really pushed the envelope and really introduced index funds to the masses, and they've worked very hard to keep the prices down on index funds. So whether you go with Fidelity or Vanguard, they are both excellent options for investing your money. And then the question is, well, how much money should I put in the market? So I know where to invest my money, I know when to invest, how much should I put in? Well, what I personally do is I put in as much money as possible. The thing to remember is the market returns about 10% every single year. So the quicker you could get money into the market, the quicker you could get that money working for you. Now, you could buy a TV, you could buy a car, but let's imagine you buy a TV. Let's say you put $1,000 towards a new flat panel TV that you want to have at home. Well, with a new TV, you could have earned a 10% return on that TV. So that's $100 over the next year that you've just missed out on. And then the following year, it's another 10% on that. And so you have this opportunity cost. If you put money elsewhere, you're giving up the gain that you could have gotten in the market. And so my philosophy is when you have the money, put it into the market. And also as a side effect, when it's in the market, you're less likely to want to use that money for other things. So my philosophy is put as much money as you possibly can in the market. Within reason, you still want to make sure you could cover all your expenses at home, but put as much money in as possible. And really, that's my guidance on how to invest. As a quick summary, what I recommend doing is follow the overall market performance. Put your money in index funds. When should you invest? Well, now is always the best time to invest because today is cheaper than tomorrow. And in terms of how much money to invest in the market, always try to put in as much money as possible because you can get your money to start working for you now instead of next month or next year. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, if you think others would also find this useful, please feel free to go ahead and share it with them. If you enjoyed this content and you learned something new, please consider giving it a thumbs up. And if you want to see future content like this, please consider subscribing, and that way you'll get a notification anytime I post new content like this. Feel free to leave comments or questions below, and I'll try my best to go ahead and respond to all of them. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed it, and thank you very much for tuning in.